Ladies and gentlemen, Forrest Walpole here. Welcome back to another live stream. Today I'm taking a little break from the watching Royal Rumble matches, and today I decided, you know what, why not just chill out, just relax and hang out with people and talk and react to Reddit stories in case people are just like, we want Reddit. Anyway, so I had a few things happen that I've seen and or experienced, mainly seen, that I wanted to talk about. Hey, yo, Mashonzo, how you doing tonight? I am doing pretty good. As you can tell, I just got started on the stream, but yes, I'm doing good today. Had a bit of a busy day helping family, helping my father out with dealing some firewood, bring some into our house, as well as loading some up onto his truck so he can have some for his own. Um, but yeah, so today I'm going to be doing a little bit of, talking about things as well as possibly reacting to Reddit stories on YouTube because I am just in that mood to do both of them. But some of the things that I might talk about may revolve around serious topics, so be prepared for that. In the meantime, I'll be drinking some Coca Cola. My all-time favorite, pop. I would say Pepsi would be a close second, but the problem is I remember one time my my mother, sister, brother-in-law, their kids, my sister and the brother-in-law's kids, and I all went to this fair some years ago. And we were getting kind of hungry, and we were looking. We found a pizza place, and they gave us Pepsi. Pizza was good. Admittedly, I'll admit the pizza was good. The Pepsi, though. Let me just put it to you. Let me just say this much. Okay, think of this. Think of a Pepsi that is pretty much maple syrup flavored Pepsi, and that's exactly what we had because that's and it was nasty. It was nasty. Ever since then, I have not ever drank a Pepsi that much. Like I will occasionally, but for the most part, I just avoided Pepsi because of that one incident. It's kind of funny to me now. I kind of look back on it now, and I just find it very hilarious. Very hilarious. I'm gonna go ahead and do this. So yeah. Uh, Nowadays I'm just like, you know what, whatever. I just found it kind of funny to me personally that because of a pop from a place where people should know how to make food, they just happen to make good food, but not a good drink somehow. Oh, I did get a few things here. I found my Squirtle plushie. Also found a my Shadow Ranger figurine that I really liked. It's missing the. It's apparently missing the head for some reason. I don't know what happened to it, but okay. And I also found this Pokemon card. For all the people that like Pokemon, this is a card that I found too. This is what I found in my camper. Yeah. I remember trying to sell it. I remember trying to trade it off just to see what I'd get from it. It was like about a few bucks, and I'm like, dude, this thing is said 10 Mentor better, and yet I'm getting $6 for it. I can't remember what explanation they had, but whatever. I wouldn't really call this my prized possession. I think for me, when it comes to cards, it's this Rainbow Hollow Pikachu Gigantamax. And apparently, um, people, when I pulled it out, I didn't know a thing or two about Pokemon trading card game pools. I didn't look at other Lost Origins videos and found this Pokemon card. I didn't look at any of them. But then when I pulled it out, someone's like, "Oh, dude, that's a big pool. not very many people were. That's a hard find, dude. You got lucky, and I'm like, okay, all right, nice, okay. I later looked on about the day or two after I posted that stream of me doing the booster box opening. Um, I looked it up, and apparently that card goes for $50, which in itself paid for almost half of the amount of money that I made, that I paid for, not made, but how much money I paid for to get the booster box in itself. That is absolutely crazy to me. Uh, Now, there was an update to something that I seen, that I've been talking about a few times. Damar Hamlin. He has, ever since I last talked about him, he has gone from the Cleveland, the hospital that's in Cincinnati, not Cleveland, like I was just about to say. He went from the Cincinnati hospital all the way up to the Buffalo hospital. And as I said before, it's nice to hear that he is getting better and better every day. And I wish him and I wish him the best. I wish for him to keep on going this path of, down the path of healing, you know, you know, of, of working this injury and hopefully getting back out on the field. And if he's not able to get out on the field, I wish him the best either way, regardless. Yeah. Um, uh, but I will say, there was apparently an incident that took place a couple of days ago, where a player, I forget which player it was, but a player ended up pushing one of the team staff of a player who was down on the field. He, for some reason, decided to push him. And then there was a camera shot of him crying on his way back to the locker room. So many people speculated on, like, they either made jokes about it or they speculated on why he was reacting the way he was reacting. Personally, I watched a video of some guy who was reacting to that whole incident, and while I don't really see why he had to bring the political side of things into his video, I'm not going to talk about what kind it was. But I will say, while I didn't really agree with the tactics of trying to bring up political points of things that happened a couple of years ago, like 2 or 3 years ago, I do agree that the man involved in the whole ordeal was really a diva. I do agree with that. And I'm thinking more like either he's going to be like the Antonio Brown type, because I've seen more of Antonio Brown being a diva compared to anybody else, or he'll grow a pair and not be like that next season. Because one thing that this sport does not need are divas. And I mean, hell, because of what happened with Damar Hamlin last Monday, and I talked about, the one, the game that he was involved in. Ever since what happened to them, I'm not surprised at all that coaching staff and the medical staff are running right up to the person just to see if they're okay, because they don't want what happened to Damar Hamlin happen to their players. Either way, no, they don't. So, yeah, I think the player was acting like a diva. I think he should not have pushed the coaching staff the person he pushed, who was trying to tend to the fallen player, on the field. I feel like that was the right call to make, because it was going to show them it's basically them telling this man, well, you basically interfered with somebody who was down, and they're trying to help the guy up. Well, you know what I mean. They're trying to help the guy, and they're trying to help him, but you are thinking a little bit about yourself and not so much about your team when you decided I want to push them. I think it was that game between Green Bay and Detroit Lions. I remember that now. A Packers player decided to push a Lions coach or something like that. Someone from the sidelines. He pushed him for no reason whatsoever, and that ultimately helped the Lions. That really helped the Lions out, honestly, I would say. If he wouldn't have done that, it probably would have been probably would have been a different story. But since this one player thought about himself pretty much, now I don't know why he was crying, but he brought it upon himself. If I'm being honest with you. Hmm. The fact that I'm actually getting recommendations of Legend of Zelda OSTs, for some reason, I don't know why, but I am. But okay then. Oh, I love Law and Order. One of my favorite shows ever. It's a good. I think it's a good show. Like it probably lasted longer than it should have, but honestly, I like it. I thought it was. I thought it was. I think it's a good show. If I'm being honest. Hmm. Oh, dude, what is this ultimate guide here? Hmm. I'm curious to see what he's going to
Those
say
games
about
had the exact magical mixture of ingredients that could bring in non gamers and have the entire family fighting for the controllers. It all started with F Zero, the futuristic racing game that launched with the Super Nintendo. F Zero takes advantage of sprite scaling technology, which was known as Mode 7. Mode 7 made it easy for Super Nintendo programmers to zoom in or zoom out on objects, and this effect was used frequently on the system.
it. Yep.
Games like Pilot Wings or F Zero use the Mode 7 effect to create 3D courses, and it was pretty impressive considering how primitive the Super Nintendo is by modern standards. The game feels lightning fast and was mind blowing back in 1991. F Zero was an exciting game, but the developers couldn't get a two-player mode working in time for the Super Nintendo's Japanese launch, so
Hmm.
it was single player only. Racing against
Hmm. Yeah, I knew about that. Anyway. Anyway. What? Guess the Pokemon Evolution win $1,000? I wish. That's. I could probably know a number of evolutions, maybe, but it's a matter. But it's also a matter of But it's also a matter of yeah. It's also a matter of
Sometimes a good
I'm not even tired, but I already lost my train of thought. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I know about a number of, but it's a matter of trying to pronounce them at sometimes. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, I finally figured it out as soon as I go back to the video just to see what that was like. Hmm.
There's something very
Wizards of the Coast, huh? The same people behind a number of the Pokemon TCG games and probably Yu-Gi-Oh or something, or Magic the Gathering. I think that's what I'm thinking of. Probably, I'm not sure. Hmm.
present.
Yeah, we're not talking about the news. We're not gonna bring up anything involving the news at all. Nope. We're not gonna be that crazy. Hmm. Hmm. I just find it amazing how this dude put the time and effort into making a video involving Mario
The
Kart.
game feels lightning fast and was mind-blowing back in 1991. F-Zero was an exciting game, but the developers couldn't get a two-player mode working in time for the Super Nintendo's Japanese launch, so it was single-player only. Racing against computer-controlled opponents is fine, but racing games are better with more human opponents, and legendary developer Shigeru Miyamoto knew it. He assembled a team to create a two-player F-Zero. This two-player game would be led by a two-man team. Tadashi Sugiyama was an obvious choice. He had directed Pilot Wings, so he knew how to use Mode 7. This definitely wasn't his first job at Nintendo. He had designed the characters for Ice Climber and Super Mario Bros. 2, and he was also the director of a little game called Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link.
Yeah, you know, the black sheep of the series.
Director was Hideki Kono, who had also worked on the American version of Super Mario Bros. 2, as well as Ice Hockey, Super Mario Bros. 3, Super Mario World, and in a bit of a left turn, Sim City. The pair realized that for the Super Nintendo to render two players at the same time, the tracks would need to be smaller. The futuristic F-Zero cars didn't make sense on the smaller tracks. The solution was go-karts. After the team had changed the cars to karts, they needed a way to make them look more distinct. Both Sugiyama and Kono had worked on Yume Kojo Doki Doki Panic, the game that was reskinned to make Super Mario Bros. 2. They decided to do the same thing with their racing game and incorporated the Super Mario characters. These characters were immediately recognizable, and including elements from the Mario series guided development of the rest of the game, from the power-ups to the locations. The music was composed by Soyo Oka, who had previously worked on SimCity and Pilot Wings. Her arrangements brilliantly set each track apart, and some, like the Donut Plains and Mario Kart GP themes, are still referenced in modern versions of the game. Super Mario Kart was obviously a massive success when it released in September of 1992. Critics gave the game high scores, and anyone that picked it up was immediately hooked. It was such a big hit that it spawned tons of imitators, some of which, like Diddy Kong Racing or Crash Team Racing, are even pretty good. This was also a big step for the expansion of the Super Mario universe. It wasn't long before the characters were appearing in all sorts of different games. They teamed up for RPGs, competed in the Olympic Games, and even joined other Nintendo characters in beating each other off the edge of cliffs. In modern times, players and critics still appreciate this fun first entry in the Mario Kart franchise. When IGN released their list of the top 100 Super Nintendo games of all time, they ranked Super Mario Kart at number 8. If you'd like to play Super Mario Kart on a modern platform, it is one of the games included on the SNES Classic Mini, and also with the Switch's online service. Modern players that attempt this game will still have to deal with all of the challenges the SNES is notorious for. The computer-controlled opponents are extremely aggressive and will do everything they can to stop you from winning.
Yep.
If you finish outside of the top 4, you'll have to repeat that race. And if you lose too many times, it'll be game over. But what if I told you about easy strategies you can use to quickly become a much better racer? What if I showed you tons of shortcuts you can use to get ahead? And what if I showed you powerful glitches you can exploit to skip entire laps, even on Rainbow Road? Well, on today's episode of You Can Beat Video Games, we'll learn all of that and more. If you're new to the channel, we're doing deep dives on retro video games and giving you the professional strategies that can be used by the casual gamer. Please make sure to subscribe and check out YouCanBeatVideoGames.com for episode lists, news, and official You Can Beat Video Games merchandise. Let's get started.
Yeah. I might actually learn that later, honestly. I might just do that later. Let's see. See, I would. What am I going to? Oh, I gotta hear the. Oh, here we go. Here are stories that we gotta hear.
Service members, what is your worst military wife story? Story 1. I got accosted by a Dependa at a Home Depot parking lot because I parked in her space. I parked in a veteran spot at Home Depot. I am a veteran. I had my 2 toddlers with me, and the spot was next to a cart stall. As I am pulling my kids out of the car, this lady walks up to me and starts asking me questions. Simple stuff, but nothing out of the ordinary, but I leave my kids in the car to be safe. She then starts asking about my veteran status, which was weird, but not bad. I told her I'm a sergeant in the 123 Trans Brigade, not real, part of the Natty Guard. Well, my husband's a lieutenant colonel, which means he's a higher rank, she said. Well, if he's a commissioned officer, he's already a higher rank, I said. So you should give me your spot. Was dumbfounded. What the F? I told her to pound sand, to which she wanted my info, rank, name, etc. So I said, yeah, sure, and I'll make sure to give you the spot next time. No crap. 3 days later, I got a call from my NCOIC. Hey, Sergeant stuck on post, do you know about Lieutenant Colonel Buttface? To which, no, I don't. Okay, I got a Lieutenant Colonel in my office looking for you and said it's important. All right. My NCOIC puts me on speakerphone. Hey, Sergeant, this is Lieutenant Colonel Buttface. I wanted to apologize for my spouse's behavior the other day. I jokingly told her she could parade up and down the street ordering other soldiers to do things, and I had no idea she would take it literally. I'm sorry this happened, and I hope we can put this behind us. I accepted his apology because up to this point, no CO has ever apologized for their actions.
Okay.
Chillest Lieutenant Colonel ever.
Wow,
Plot twist. This didn't end up where I thought. Good on that Lieutenant Colonel for getting a hold of you and apologizing, but also the fact that he had to is bonkers to me. Even if that woman thought she had that power, why would she use it like that? What a crappy person.
Yep. You know, because you know what's really funny here? The very first story involves a place that I work at. Not the actual location, but a store, you know, the business that I work at. So that's very funny to me. And you know, we always try to be nice to the service members. You know, we always try to be respectful to the service members. Even if they're wearing something that don't conform to what we personally believe when it comes to the political side of things. But I always try to be respectful, and you know, it's always nice knowing that, you know, hopefully, like, if I was to wear something political, I would hope people would not give me any flack for it. Which is kind of weird for me saying that because I live in a red state, and I usually believe that people with the red side of things, sometimes, depending on who we're talking about here, either are really chill people that will respect your opinion, or they are really crazy people who act like they're right and other people who disagree with them are 100% wrong, even if the person pretty much says, I have proof for this, and show them the proof, and they still say, well, that proof is bogus and you're wrong still. And it's like, so I sometimes try to pick my battles with them, right? So, well, on both sides of the coin, it's the same way. But still. Anyway.
Story 2. Got back from an 8th-month deployment. Buddy's wife was 6 months pregnant. FedEx is amazing, really. Story 3. I got restationed back to the States from Germany. I flew my month deployment. Buddy's wife was 6 months pregnant. FedEx is amazing, really.
What?
Crappy person.
I gotta hear this again.
Story 2. Got back from an 8th-month deployment. Buddy's wife was 6 months pregnant. FedEx is amazing, really.
Oh, she cheated on him. I had to figure that out. I'm sorry, but still, dang, bro.
Story 3. I got restationed back to the States from Germany. I flew my German girlfriend over and we ended up getting married. She went back to Germany 4 days later and I never saw her again. LOL. Whack. Story 4. A friend of mine came home early one day from a...
The only reason I consider that... How is it you got married to her, but then she moves back to Germany and you never see her again? I have so many questions about that story.
Deployment. Wife was busy fricking another guy on the couch. In the bedroom was a baby she had never mentioned, fathered by yet a third guy.
Oh.
Not military related, but this reminds me of someone I worked with years ago. She had 2 kids, was married, living with a different guy, and was pregnant with the third guy's kid. She was 19 at the time. Story 5. I was in the officers' club in Okinawa around 2012 or so. In walk at least 6 women in S cutoff shorts versions of flight suits that were bright orange. I was pretty confused until my Marine friend told me that meant their husbands were deployed and they were looking for a good time. Apparently, it was an open secret. While I was in the Air Force way back in 2003 or so, a guy's wife started hanging out in the dorms without her husband. Me and my buddy avoided her because we figured it wasn't going to turn out okay.
Right.
Yeah, turns out she was just running through every guy in the dorms and even had fricked a guy in our shop. I mean that literally.
Wow.
He brought her into the shop and they had fricked on one of our workbenches. Again, back in the early 2000s. Guy I know had his wife attack him with an iron skillet. Both of them were active duty. He ended up choking her out because she was trying to kill him. Cops get called because it's base housing and walls are paper thin. Wife admits she attacked him and he was just defending himself. First sergeant presses charges on the husband. Husband gets found guilty and kicked out of the Air Force and becomes a house husband for his wife who is still in the military. Wife never got charged with anything. That's ridiculous! She admitted to attacking him with cast iron! Those things are heavy as hell! That's more of an attempted murder than if she went at him with a gun! Story 6.
Gender bias. You gotta love it.
Long story short, someone, A, in my unit walked in on his wife cheating on him with someone else, B, from our unit. They separate, she moves in with B and leaves the unit. 8 months later, we return from a deployment and A goes on one date with a girl. His ex-wife finds out and calls the first sergeant. A gets charged with adultery and reduced in rank while B only got switched to a different unit. Story 7.
Right.
My best mate in the Army married a girl he just met and then deployed. While he was gone, she kept begging him for money to buy everything that he needed to set up the house when he got back. When his tour ended, the girl was genuinely peed and wanted to know how soon he was deploying again. After some days of heated discussion, it turns out that she expected he would die in combat and told him that her family, and her boyfriend were counting on the money. He was an aircraft tech and never left the airport. He threw her out and told her they were getting divorced, and she offered up her sister as a replacement.
This girl actually tried to keep this man. is going to really try to keep this man in the family. Sucks for her to know that that's not really gonna happen. Nope, not gonna happen at all.
One evening while I was on staff duty, then wife decided that I was cheating on her and not, in fact, at work. I was totally at work, nor had I ever cheated on her. So she texts me and says, I'm going to go to the barracks and frick the first soldier I see. I was so choked out of the relationship at this point, I was just waiting to get out to leave her, so I didn't bother responding. She showed up at the barracks and got turned away by CQ because she used her dependent ID to try and check into the barracks and couldn't tell them who she was there to visit. Good Lord, I knew I was coming here for the worst of these stories, but this one, I don't know, it just made me sad. Story 9. Standing gate guard in Washington, D.C. Officer's wife drives through the gate and presents her ID. I wave her through. She doesn't move, asking me if I forgot something. I said, no, I didn't believe I did. She said I forgot to salute her, pointing to the blue sticker on her windshield. I leaned close to her windshield and saluted the sticker, wishing it a good afternoon. I got removed from that duty. Repeat after me. You are not your husband's rank.
Yep, that's how it is. Unless you are in the military along with your husband, you cannot share your husband's rank because you're not in the military, while your husband is. So, yeah. Military wives really need to stop acting like that.
Story 10. Posting on behalf of my husband. Worst, they came back from a 15-month tour in Iraq. His platoon sergeant went home to find another man living in his house with his wife and kids. His kids' toddlers were calling the guy daddy. When he walked in, his wife basically said, yeah, I want a divorce. I'm with him now. Worst part was the platoon sergeant and new daddy kinda worked together. But was one of the few who stayed behind for clerical stuff while the rest deployed. Yes, I know this is absolutely against the rules. This was when crap was Wild West and a DUI was an unofficial requirement for E6. ETA, I asked my husband what happened after this. He doesn't know what happened to Jody, aka Deployment Replacement Daddy. The husband threatened to take the kids and kick her onto the street, which he definitely had grounds to do. Instead, she agreed to on-demand fricking and threesomes, including summoning a prostitute if he wanted one and helping him keep it on the DL. Posting on behalf of my husband had me really concerned for half a second. Folks, you need to figure out how to write your stories a little more coherently. Maybe it's on me, and I would better understand what happened if I reread it, but that's just not how mainly fat guy do. Story 11. I'm a military spouse, but worked as a DoD employee with the Marines. Got a call that a military spouse was in the hospital. Her place on base housing had gotten broken into. The 9-month pregnant spouse was violated and beaten and taken by ambulance to the hospital. The assault caused a miscarriage. I was devastated and went to the hospital with several officers in the Marines' chain of command. One of the nurses tending her looked me in the eye and said, I am very interested in how this is going to play out. I was so confused. The 9-month pregnant debauchery and assault victim was given an ultrasound and blood work performed upon being admitted to the hospital. She hadn't been pregnant. She wasn't violated. Her due date was the next day, and she had been faking the pregnancy the whole time. She beat herself up and carved herself up with a knife, then made up the violation story resulting in miscarriage as a way to cover up the 9 months of lying to her husband about being pregnant. I've never seen this level of crazy until 3 months later when said Marine reunited with bat crap crazy girl even after all that.
Wow.
Story 12. Saw a newer airman with no belt on. I asked, why don't you have a belt? He said he can't afford one, so I gave him $5 and told him to go get a belt. A few weeks later, I saw him at Ruby Tuesday cleaning tables. I asked around, and apparently his wife was growing weed in base housing and he got kicked out of the military. He swore he didn't know what she was doing. Story 13.
Oh yeah, but apparently he should know what she's doing, even though, as I say to everybody, you never know what's going on behind closed doors. Like, if you're not behind that door, you don't know what's going on behind it. Even if you are suspicious about something, you will never know what's going on behind closed doors. That's how it is. That's how it can be.
Oh, I'm going to post some of my friend's highlights. She was the midwife on an Air Force base, delivered lots of babies. Colonel brought his 16-year-old daughter in because she was pregnant. Turns out the father was a new junior enlisted. He did not last long in the military.
Oh.
Dude's wife left him and moved in with her boyfriend off base while she was deployed. She got knocked up. Since they were still married, she was still going to the base for medical care. Their divorce wasn't final by her due date, so she still got to go on base and deliver. Her soon-to-be ex-husband, the military guy, had his buddies in security forces put a security flag on his soon-to-be ex-wife's boyfriend. The boyfriend couldn't be on base for the birth of his child. And always the favorite, babies coming out with the wrong ethnic background of the father was at least a once-a-year thing. The colonel brought his 16-year-old daughter in because she was pregnant. Turns out the father was a new junior enlisted. He did not last long in the military. Ha! When my sister was in high school, she briefly dated the steward assigned to my dad, the captain of a Navy ship. He was a good guy, and I think what finally ended it for my sister was that it didn't irk my dad enough. I want to feel bad for the one dad not being allowed to see the birth of his child because that is possibly a once-in-a-lifetime thing to be denied, but that's why you don't friggin' cheat.
Right.
Story 14. The issue is that people forget the military is filled with 18 to 20-year-old boys, many of whom, in my opinion, lack relationship experience and marry the first girl who gives them attention. It's true. Take a poorly educated kid away from their support network of friends and family at home and drop them thousands of miles away with a pride full of bootness and a toxic culture, sprinkle it with lack of life experience, and bam, you've got an E3 marrying a second-class stripper who ends up also buying a muscle car for 25%. Story 15. While delivering our fourth baby at a military hospital, we were talking to one of the nurses about infidelity and crazy things she had witnessed. She told us about a woman coming in with her husband for a C-section that was not scheduled. The woman insisted that she was scheduled for a C-section that day. They did an ultrasound and found that she was 3 months pregnant, not 9 months pregnant. She was willing to deliver a baby 6 months early so it would appear the conception lined up with her husband's mid-tour leave. Story 16.
Shit.
Oh man, so many. One friend in the Corps, a first-term sergeant who hated every minute he was in uniform. He re-enlisted so she could go to school. Left for deployment after re-enlistment, came back to a divorce and a drained bank account. And another sergeant who met his wife while he and like 7 other guys were running a groupie on her. He decided he needed to marry her. So many crap stories there, but I mean, he probably deserved them. Because I mean, wow. So many of these all go back to that story mentioning how these are 18 to 20-year-old boys making these decisions. I remember being 18 to 20. I did not make good decisions. My friends did not make good decisions.
Yep.
People, until you're in your mid-20s, just don't make any decisions. It isn't worth it. Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day. Story 17. Heard one not long ago about a lieutenant's wife who copped an attitude when informed that her husband did not qualify her for general officer only parking.
Right.
Story 18. A guy in my shop, Air Force, deployed to Iraq for 4.5 months. Before he left, he signed over general power of attorney to his wife. While he was gone, she started freaking another guy in our shop, then signed the divorce paperwork as his power of attorney and his rights to see his kids, as well as draining his bank account. She went to live with the other guy in my shop and his friend off base. They were both arrested for check fraud when trying to pass off a check that was the roommates in the shopette on base. The guy she divorced eventually got full custody of the kids, and the other guy in my shop got kicked out of the Air Force. There were other stories of cheating and all of that kind of crap, but this one takes the cake. She actively worked to ruin his life when all he did was love his kids and get deployed to Iraq. Don't give anyone general power of attorney, ever. I don't care how much you trust them or how much you...
Especially if they're your significant other. Because you never know what they're going to do. In the event that you are in a position like this, or if things get really bad between you and your significant other. Like, honestly, the significant, like, giving the power of attorney to your significant other is probably the worst thing, the worst mistake you will ever make in your life. Ever. If you have one. But still, that would be the dumbest person to do this to. Definitely for sure.
They love you. Don't do it. You can give
Right.
them specialized power of attorney that only allows them to handle your affairs that you very specifically need them to handle. General powers of attorney are basically worthless nowadays. Story 19. Our neighbors, too, brought us some stories. 1. Unit deployed and she met a new guy. Used power of attorney to divorce the husband overseas and marry the new guy so quickly she was able to stay on base in the same house.
Wow.
First husband came home and ended up being in the same platoon as the second husband, who now lived in his house with his kids and all his belongings. 2. When we first moved in on base, we had a neighbor that was super friendly. Wife told us she had cancer, so her brother was staying with her to take care of her. We think nothing of it. A few months later, they moved out to live off base. Normal thing, so no reason to be skeptical. Fast forward a few months, and I'm shoveling the driveway, and a guy from next door comes over to say hi. I say hi and welcome him as a new neighbor. He's not a new neighbor, he's had that house for a couple of years. I got confused and asked about the woman who had moved out recently. He told me that woman was his wife, the brother was her lover, she didn't have cancer, and she spent all his money on Farmville, then moved out with everything they owned.
Huh.
Pendas and their Farmville. Some of you are old enough to remember Farmville and how it was the beginning of the downfall of Facebook. Nothing told you more about a person you were friends.
I don't know about that, but I do remember Farmville.
But then how many Farmville things they tried to send you. Story 20. Dude in my platoon wife falsely accused her ex-MP boyfriend of debauchery. Went as far as stabbing a mattress and swallowing a condom to set him up. Dude spent weeks in jail before being cleared of all charges. When it comes to light, it was crazy lady vindictive bullcrap. She amped up the crazy. She handed her friend and my platoon mate's baby through a window at night while they watched a movie. Platoon mate went to check on the baby and it was missing. Prompted the first Amber Alert in Alaska history. She tried to pin it on the MP as some sort of act of vengeance. I can only imagine what the poor dude was thinking when the cops came to him with this. He was very quickly eliminated, and they figured out that the baby was safe rather quickly.
Jeez.
Story 21. I have 2. First, I was the witness of...
Why would you even do that? Like, if you don't like the guy... So many questions on this story, like the one from earlier. This one, too many questions that I want to ask.
My soldiers' weddings. It was a typical Joe wedding in that it took place midday at a Wings and Things during the Lucky Bride's lunch break. The mother of the bride said Wings and Things, but refused to attend the ceremony despite being at work that day. It was pretty amazing. Second, I was at an officer candidate school with an Army hot blonde. She was deployed on 9/10 and everybody hit on her. She was drowning in attention, but it was all for naught because she was married to a Green Beret or something.
Oh.
Well, all that attention finally got to her and she started sleeping with the cadets. It got to the point of her and another married female getting nailed in a hotel room at the same time, and they reportedly high-fived mid-coitus. About 3/4 of the way through the course, she started to put on a little weight, and it sure seemed like her belly was growing faster than the rest of her. About 4 weeks before graduation, it came out that she was in fact pregnant with who the frick knows baby. Not long after graduation, I heard that her marriage to Mr. SF did not survive the encounter.
Nope.
Story 22. Hope this counts. My grandfather was stationed in Germany where he met my grandmother. They got married in Germany and she moved back to the States with him where his family was absolutely not very happy about it. His mother actually offered to buy him a brand new car if she married a nice American woman instead. Obviously, my grandma wasn't too happy about that and decided the best course of action was to have a second wedding in the U.S. to prove she wasn't going anywhere. They were married 55 years and she's still living in the original family home. She really didn't go anywhere. Story 23. My brother-in-law was on both sides of crappy cheating stories. He married a woman he chatted to online for a few weeks when he was 19. Then he had to go to Iraq. A month after he left, she told him that he got her pregnant. He comes home after 6 months, then she has the baby. The baby definitely is not his. Fast forward 10 years, he's married to an awesome chick we all like. She works a job and takes care of everything around the house. He cheats on her with an 18-year-old girl that worked at Sonic. She catches him and leaves for a weekend to go stay with her sister to figure out what to do. He puts all her stuff in cardboard boxes out under the carport and moves in the new girl. He really is a piece of crap. Oof, yeah, felt bad for him at first, but he proved to be the villain in the end. I hope the free Sonic corn dogs and
Dude, there were no winners in that story. No winners whatsoever.
were worth it, you dong. Story 24. Air Force and Navy veteran here, and I'm a Marine wife. The worst thing I ever experienced was the death of a beautiful 5-month-old baby girl. Sergeant and his wife were serious gamers. The wife also suffered from mental health issues. Both were weird and ignorant. The wife was tired of the baby crying and not sleeping, so she propped a bottle on the pillow, used more pillows to cushion her, and left her in the master bedroom while she and the hubby gamed. The little girl suffocated. Neither parent checked on her for 124 hours. They said they thought she was sleeping. They found her dead, left her for several more hours, and made a failed attempt to resuscitate her while they were on the phone with 911. They're so stupid, the police and EMS shared with me that rigor mortis had already set in, and it looked as the baby had been dead for more than 24 hours. The parents went back to gaming because they wanted to finish their match or whatever. The mother showed zero remorse. However, she was completely fascinated with how popular she was becoming on social media. So much so that she was super giddy with her local fame and said her kid dying was worth the fame and GoFundMe. The Marine was indifferent to the whole thing. This was one of my husband's Marines. We got the call to go to the family and bring them whatever they needed for temporary lodging. We had no idea what a crap show we'd be walking into. Well, I guess we got a winner for the worst people on the thread.
Yeah.
I can promise you if I find any stories with worse people than this, I will not be reading it. F these monsters.
Yeah, dude, what the So, yeah, to say that I'm both very shocked, very pissed off, and very upset. Like, dude, you literally, like, I know this is going to be a podcast I'm kind of black because I don't know how they were playing the game. Like, were they playing it online or not? Dude, you could not have, at any fucking point in time, stopped your fucking game to take care of your fucking child. You really could not have fucking done that. Like, well, okay, baby's crying, we better take care of this before we go back into the games. No, instead, y'all fucking kill this baby because you guys were getting sick and tired of it crying. You wanna know what you could have done to stop it from crying? I don't know, fucking took care of it. Instead of whatever the fuck that shit was, you really couldn't. You really could have got off your fucking ass, took care of the baby, put it back in the bed, and then went back to your game until it started crying again. But no, instead these assholes were like, well, let's do this fucking stupid shit that will ultimately kill the child. And we're just gonna act like we had no fucking idea what was going on. To any gamer friends of mine who may or may not have a child, if you ever do, and you're somehow watching this, and I kind of find it crazy that you're still watching this after that moment, if not at least skipped it, please, for the love of God, never, ever treat your child the way these assholes, these motherfucking monsters, they're not humans. They are not human. They are literal monsters in human form. Fuck those guys. I hope they both, and I'm being serious here when I say this, I don't care if I get any flack for it, but may these assholes rot in hell. Because fuck them. Fuck them.
Story 25. I was pretty naive and got maneuvered into a couple of crap situations. First, somehow ended up alone with a colleague's wife. She started telling raunchy stories and getting closer and closer to me, telling me something like, nobody gives better BJs than me. It made sense in conversation, but also wasn't really necessary. My somewhat intoxicated response? Okay then, good night, I'll be leaving now. Second, was drinking with a different colleague. He got very intoxicated and out of the blue started berating me for trying to sleep with his wife. I did not want to sleep with his wife and was not trying to. Noped out of there too. Later that night, my wife showed up at my apartment ostensibly to apologize. Heard some other rumors, but was never sure what to believe.
Right.
Story 26. Obligatory not me, but my friend who I'll call Robert. Robert was a bummy, sloppy-looking guy who was always on the receiving end of jokes and pretty much only survived because he was a nice guy, so as lazy as he was, most airmen would cover for him. Being a genuinely nice guy goes a long way in the military. So Robert had an unusually hot wife who completely surprised everyone that ever saw them together, and we all assumed that he was packing some real heat, or that she wasn't a shallow butthole like the rest of us. So I'm not sure how this was arranged, but Robert had a best friend who I'll call Greg, and one day after a few beers, Robert decided it would be really cool if Greg fricked his wife and let him watch. Greg is objectively a better looking guy, by the way, and it happens. Greg fricks the wife while Robert watches, and this happens a few more times until one of the times, the wife finishes up with Greg and tells her husband, Robert, that she no longer wants to frick him, that she only wants to frick Greg. This made him very upset. And why do I know all of this? Because Robert came into our squadron and had a mental breakdown and told all of us. I was there trying to get some leave paperwork signed. He straight up told this entire story to all of our leadership and finished it off with a demand that Greg be punished. Greg obviously wasn't punished, but was asked to stop, which I'm sure he didn't. In fact, no one was punished, and in classic military fashion, this story spread faster than his wife's legs for Greg. Gossip runs hard in the military.
Wow.
Oh, Robert, if you want to be cucked, then you must know you are playing a dangerous game. You cucked too close to the sun and got burned.
Yep.
Story 27. I knew a guy who got home from the sea a day early back when there was no email or phones to call home and let wives know they were in early. Found a different car in his driveway and someone else in his wife. He kicked his wife naked out on the front lawn and then proceeded to beat 7 levels of heck out of the guy. He spent 2 months in Club Ed for assault, but he said it was worth it.
Right.
Story 28. Not a service member, but my uncle is an NCO. His first wife cheated on him with a colonel's wife. He found them in a very promising situation in his own house, so he did what he had to and yeeted them naked out of the house for all the other people living in the military houses to see, including the colonel. Got a divorce, full custody of kids. But she says it's not cheating if it's with another woman. My old...
No, that's not how this shit works, man. Not by a long shot.
When his girlfriend did this. Frankly, I think your uncle should have walked up to the colonel, grabbed his hand, looked him in the eyes, and said, I think it's time we get back at them. At least that's how it went in my mind. Please leave your story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hackers of Reddit.
Let's see here. What else we got? Oh, time for an entitled parent story. Actually, hold on.
Today we've got a
Hold on a second. I'll actually be right back. Give me a second. Alright. I have it done. Let's hear these entitled parent stories because we all love them.
Crazy story of an entitled parent trying to get rid of their kid. We'll get to that in a bit, but first,
really?
thumb-looking deadbeat thing called father wants to walk me down the aisle. Important things to know for this story. I'm 27-year-old female, my sister's 23, mom is 53, and father is 51. The hatred for my dad runs deep. It's something that I've been dealing with since I was young, and I can't seem to let it go. My sister and I have a sweet little nickname for him, which is Seed Giver. Now, where do I even begin? When I was small, he used to be involved in my life until my sister was born. Then he got bored of me and was focusing all his attention on her, which I picked up even at age 4. When she outgrew her toddler phase, the same thing happened to her. Growing up, he was never a part of our lives. He didn't know our likes and dislikes, interests, who our friends are. He was a deadbeat man who would sleep all day and go to work at night. He never brought any income home, so we relied on my mother to bring food on the table. Sometimes we would have nothing to eat, so we would play a game called Treasure Hunt around the house so we can find some spare change in pockets and purses so that we can buy bread and milk. When we needed clothes or shoes, our mom had to tell us to keep quiet about it, and she would hide the receipts or lie about the prices so he doesn't get angry.
Okay.
He was never violent, but he was verbally abusive and manipulative. The only thing he did to me, which left an impact to this day as a reflex, is that he would smack my head whenever he was annoyed at me. So now whenever someone does a hand motion in my direction, I would instinctively close my eyes and flinch. He would often fight with my mother and always blame her for everything. Manipulative jerk, and she would always be the one to drop the ball first. There are so many examples of when he was a total jerk, but I can write a book on it. Let me move on to the climax.
All right.
From age 12, I suspected that he was cheating on my mom. When he got a normal day job, he claimed that he also got a side gig at night in a bar. I remember staying up at night with my sister and listening in as he would sneak back in the house. Sometimes he would go to our room and take our Fruity Kids perfume to put it on himself cause it smelled nice.
Huh.
Yeah, right. I asked my mom about it a lot, but at that time she was a mix between disbelief and denial. For a lot of things he did, I hated him, and I wanted him out of our home and our lives. So I became obsessed with busting him. It took 6 long years to get there, but in my final year of high school, my sister and I did it. We found evidence in the form of photos and videos of him and multiple women of all ages. We saw his inappropriate photos, something that I want burned from my memory, but the icing on the cake was that after the initial shock and adrenaline wore off, I recognized one of the more recent girls in his gallery was one of my classmates.
Oh.
Suddenly, everything made much more sense, because he would always threaten me that he had connections in my school, and that he knows all my grades, behavior, and days when I skipped. That night, when we sat my mom down and showed her everything, was the day she lit up a cigarette for the first time in 7 years. What happened after that was a whirlwind of emotions and action, and he was kicked out from the house with the locks being changed the next day. The house belongs to my mom's parents, so he had no claim on it. After that day, he would threaten all of us, saying vile things such as paying a gang to tarnish the house and R-word my grandma. He took our car because even though my mom bought it, it was under his name. He refused to pay alimony for my sister. He knew that I was the one who busted his butt because he was well aware that I was onto him and that I wanted him gone from our lives. The few times we were forced to meet up with him, he would hiss and spit at me, called me a homewrecker and a piece of crap who ruined his and our mom's happiness. 9 years have passed since then, so much more happened, and in all that chaos, I was forced to be the one to stay in contact with him. As time seems to heal and erase things for some people, he convinced himself that all of that is behind us, that what happened was not his fault, and now he's trying to be a part of our lives. Of my life. I'm getting married this May, and when he asked me about the details, I told him that my mom is going to be the one to walk me down the aisle, as she's always been the only parent in my life. He had the audacity to feel hurt and insulted and told me that they can both walk me down the aisle. I told him no, and that he should be happy that he's going to be there at all. He got mad at me and called me spiteful and vengeful, and not gonna lie, I am. Very much so.
I hate him with all of my existence, and I hate the position I was put in to be the point of contact between him and everyone else. I cannot understand how the freak he thinks he deserves anything from me after all the crap he put us through. I told him that I don't want to discuss it further, but I just know that he will mention it again. A short while after we kicked the trash out and they started the divorce process, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. It was like life was giving us another slap in the face. We were scared as heck, and my mom was pushing my sister and I to keep in touch with him because the future was uncertain. I was always so vulnerable when it comes to my mom, going to therapy for that and other obvious things, so saying no to her was not an option at the time. Since my baby sis was in her teenage years and very depressed, I put my big sibling pants on and decided to be that bridge. It was such a mistake. Thankfully, my mom is cancer-free now, but the damage was done. At first, he would contact me to ask how mom is doing, how sister's doing, blah blah. Then he would insist that we meet so he can grill me for more info. For the sake of my mother, I was scared to say no because I didn't want to give her more stress. He is manipulative and knows how to push my buttons. And believe me, he still does this to this day. It's been years, and every 2 months, just as he's not even crossing my mind, he would call and call, spam me with messages until I answer. Thank you all for reminding me that I am in fact an adult, and that it's about time I take matters into my own hands. Not gonna lie, it's so hard for me because I'm tormented by the thoughts of being a bad, selfish person. A disappointment. I'll also be talking more to my therapist about this, because obviously I'm not over all of this crap. Hope this makes sense. There's so much more to this crappy story, but I try to add the most important details. It seems like OP's kind of got a good clarity on where to go with this, but definitely you just gotta put your foot down. You're not that little kid anymore, and they don't have that power over you like they used to. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you can't get enough of hearing about some entitled parents,
I agree
hit that
with
subscribe
literally
button down
pretty
below.
much everything
That
you
said,
said.
our next story is entitled Mother Never Told Me My Medical Diagnosis. I was just remembering this lovely memory, and I thought it was worth sharing. For context, I'm 22-year-old female now. This story takes place sophomore year of high school when I was 16. Around Christmas, I started noticing my back would be very painful around the end of the day. I thought it was because I was going from walking about campus all day plus dance team to laying in my bed over winter break. Fast forward 2 months and that ache turned to a complete noticeable stabbing pain basically morning to evening. Fast forward over 2 months and that pain was full on agonizing. Practically a stabbing hot poker 24/7. Icy hot, Epsom salts, stretching, meditation, etc. literally was just getting worse. My mother could not have made the situation worse. My mother thought I was exaggerating my pain and would even say it's probably because I was gaining weight and holding it in my back. I had to start silently crying in bathrooms all to avoid whatever dismissive things she would say. She refused to take me to the doctor because she was convinced I was lying about how bad the pain was. I did everything I could think of at school, as I couldn't do one physical activity for more than 15 minutes at a time. Luckily, I had super understanding teachers and coaches. It came to a point where the only comfortable position was laying down. This was a high school floor, so you can imagine how desperate I was. One day, my mother came home and screamed at me saying how much I embarrassed her. Apparently, some of my teachers had emailed her saying how concerned they were and suggested I go to a doctor. My mother said I could no longer do whatever I was doing at school and just had to deal with it. Well, the pain eventually started affecting my sleep, and I didn't know what to do. Another member of my dance team said I should make an appointment with her chiropractor. He worked wonders with her ankle. I unfortunately had to wait an extra 3 weeks until my grandmother came into town, as my mother refused to take me. At the appointment, he asked me like 400 questions and feels around my back, puts me in the weirdest position ever, and crack, instant relief. I literally start crying. For the first time in 6 months, the pain is just gone. The doctor then shows me my x-ray, and I think I immediately see the issue. I say, "Is that a curve?" He says, "Yes, it looks like you have slight scoliosis," and it was pointing to where the pain has been in your back. I'm honestly shocked and confused. I figured it had developed over the years, as no doctor had ever said anything before. So my grandmother and I get home. My mother's pretty snotty and says, "Well, what did they say? Is it all better?" I look at her and tell her about how I have a curve and it makes me susceptible to extreme back pain. What she said next shocked me. She then looked me in the face and said, "Oh, well, that's always been there since you were little. Every x-ray's shown that. I've always known." I was so dumbfounded I shout, "And you didn't think to mention that every time I've cried about how the back pain was the past several months?" She said, "I honestly thought you were faking." After a long time of mindful posture and lots of stretches, the pain eventually went away for good. But I will always remember that story. One quick and easy way to show your kid that you never really cared. This next story is, am I in the wrong for not wanting anything to do with my father? I'm 26-year-old male, and mom and dad divorced when I was around 4 years old. Mom never cut off contact with dad. I think her logic was that I'd always grow up understanding who he was as a person. I used to see him every other weekend, or occasionally we'd have a few hours after school during the week. Every time I saw him, even from being young, he just used to badmouth mom all the time, asking me how she was spending his child support payments, telling me she was constantly rinsing him of money, etc. I remember a time where mom was struggling for money. I was growing out of my clothes, going to high school, and needing a new uniform. Mom spoke to the support agency who managed to get more money out of my dad. The amount of abusive text messages he sent my mom after that was appalling. Then into my teen years, it never really stopped. I remember all of dad's side of the family had booked us for go-karting. I was so excited, and then dad wouldn't pay for me. He made the excuse that he thought I was inexperienced and the carts would be too powerful for me, and therefore made me stand and watch. I didn't really have much to do with him after that, but when I was approaching 18, 9 years ago, Dad was excited that he could almost stop paying child support. But I dropped it on him that I was doing an extra year in education, and he needed to pay another year. He started sending more abusive messages about me and about mom, and the final one was, "Go end everything, loser," in a much more severe way. The following day, I changed my number and cut off all contact with him. Occasionally, he'll send me a friend request on Facebook, but he's hopeless with technology and has never figured out how to message me. My cousin, who I talk to every so often, has been telling me for the last couple of years that Dad wants to get in touch with me. Over this last year, this has been playing on my mind. Part of me wonders if he could have changed after 9 years, but part of me thinks that he'll accept me as his son 9 years on from not having to pay and support me. He never wanted me as a kid, so why would he want me now?
Right.
But it's conflicting my mind. If Dad was to die tomorrow and I found out, would I hold any regrets? Now I have a baby on the way with my girlfriend, and my mom's partner I call stepdad, but will 100% be granddad to the baby regardless. I feel for OP because this is one of those situations where you're doing some real soul searching to try and figure out, is it worth it to at least hear them out? Or have they already burnt all the bridges and there's no bridge to cross? This next story is, a mom apparently thinks I should let her child hit me. I'm a preschool teacher. Oh, I have some fun stories. Today, a mom put in a complaint about me. Her kids are twins, 3 years old, and they're an absolute mess. I love all kids, but these two are something else. Their names are incredibly similar. First of all, picture a parent naming their twins Candy and Mandy or Mackenzie and McKinley. So these girls don't know their own names. They both think their name is Mackenzie. They came into my class not potty trained. They barely know any letters and colors and have a low vocabulary, even though they have an older sibling, both parents, and a nanny taking care of them.
Wow.
They hit and shove each other, pull each other's hair, and try to stick their fingers in each other's eyes.
Oh my
They've
God.
literally stepped on my other kids to get where they're going because they're so used to always having their way. One of them, McKinley, can be cute, and I already had made progress with her. She's using the potty by herself now, knows a few colors, and is starting to respond to the correct name. Then there's Mackenzie. This child literally clutches her pearls and looks offended if I ask her to do basic things like clean up her toys, go potty, or line up for recess. She gets angry if she's told to say please, screams chicken if she doesn't like her lunch, and says no while giggling to everything she's told to do. Now, I would speak to her entitled mother at pickup about the behavioral issues, but
You know the funny thing is, the last bit, saying no and then giggling to everything she's told to do. My nephew sometimes does that. My niece doesn't do it as often as he does, but my nephew definitely does it. Yeah, it's... I don't know why he thinks he can just, say no and expect not to get something, not to get punished for it a little bit for not doing as he's told. Like, yeah, we'll tell him. Like, the only person he will never do this to is my dad. My dad, for those of you who don't know, because obvious reasons, you guys may know my dad a little bit. He does have his funny moments, but he's also serious when he needs to be. Right? When sometimes his seriousness goes a little bit crazy, but for the most part, his seriousness is warranted. But anyway, so I was, yeah, like I said, so he would never act this way to my dad because he knows my dad is very serious. He will always listen to my dad, but he won't listen to the rest of us. I feel like the reason why he won't listen to us is because, I feel like he won't listen to me because almost every time I try to tell him to listen to me, I always feel like I'm getting undermined. Like, even if, I'll admit sometimes I've probably gone a little bit too overboard with, a little power hungry and trying to tell him what to do. I'll admit that. But I also try to let him know what he's doing wrong, but he still wants to act all, all crazy. Meanwhile, my niece does it sometimes, but like I said, she doesn't do it as often as he does. So, yeah.
I softened it and didn't tell her everything this kid does. Entitled mother would insist that all of their behavior was because they speak 2 languages. Sorry, Mackenzie knows exactly what go potty means. She just doesn't like to do it. So last night she was throwing a bigger fit than usual. I told her she could stand up and walk to the potty or I could carry her, but laying down and kicking her feet wasn't an option. She didn't get up, so I picked her up and took her into the bathroom. I gave her a minute to stand still and calm down, then told her again to use the potty. She immediately slapped me hard in the arm. This was the first time she hit someone other than her twin. I made her go potty and sat her in the library away from the other children because she was still throwing her tantrum and I didn't want her to hit another kid. I take hitting very seriously, so I told her she needed to sit until she could be nice again or until mommy got there so I could talk to her. Mackenzie kept screaming and stomping, so I left her alone to cool down, since my sitting by her was only enraging her more. Cue entitled mother picking up. She was rushing to get her screaming kids out, so I only had time to tell her that Mackenzie was sitting out of the group because she hit and wasn't being safe. Entitled mother asked why she'd hit, and I explained it was because she was refusing to go potty again. Entitled mother said, "Mackenzie, no, you need to be nice," and rushed them out. This morning when I arrived, entitled mother was in my boss's office throwing a fit and demanding the twins be removed from my room. I wasn't there for the conversation, but my boss called me in later to talk about it. Apparently, entitled mother described last night as the teacher put Mackenzie in timeout for not going potty, which totally was not what happened. I was on the verge of a panic attack all day because I didn't know what was going on or what I had done wrong. My boss was fine with it once I explained, just told me to make sure I'm conscious of how things look to parents when they pick up their kids. The twins were moved to the other preschool class, and at the end of the day, I overheard that teacher crying to the manager because entitled mother had bawled her out over something too. The woman cannot handle her children getting any kind of discipline whatsoever. But unfortunately, schools have schedules to keep to, and we can't spend 45 minutes waiting for your child to decide to go potty on her own. When she first enrolled them, she asked my co-teacher if we could spoon feed them. They're in preschool. Their classmates speak in full sentences, draw detailed pictures, count to 30, say the entire alphabet, and some can write their names already. I'm so hoping Entitled Mother just pulls them out of the school, because if she tries to put them in my class again, I'm not taking them. I'm not going to put my entire class behind because I have 2 children in my class who I'm not allowed to teach. This next story is, I tried to end that witch, but that predator got in the...
See, see, I want to know why exactly the entitled mother is acting this way with her children. Like, why is she why does she think disciplining kids? This is like this one video. There's like this one moment on Super Nanny. I'm going to show that clip after this, actually, because I want you guys to hear this. But there's a clip on the Super Nanny YouTube channel where this mother got really mad at Joe Frost because Joe was disciplining her children. And then the mom got upset over it. And so Joe tried to talk to the mom and let her know the reason why your daughter is going off on discipline, is because you don't want to do it. You would rather she just do what she wants to do, or something like that. She basically told this mother off for not disciplining the child when discipline was actually needed. Instead, she somehow tolerates it, and she doesn't punish the child. She doesn't discipline the child, and so the child thinks, because I'm not getting in trouble for it at home, I can do it. I can still do it at home and do it anywhere else, right? And then the mom tried to say something in a later part of the clip, and Joe's just like, yeah, no, we're not doing it your way, because your way failed. We're doing it my way, because I've been very successful with this. Your way has not done anything good, so now we're doing it my way. Even if you don't like it, we still gotta do it my way. We're gonna see how it goes. I'll show that clip because I'm pretty sure, because of how long it's been since I last watched it, that I'm probably wrong on a few things, but I'm still gonna show it all. I'm still gonna show it.
My mom, while being arrested after she tried to end me. You still think my mom is innocent? Hi everybody. I hope your Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, or whatever you celebrate was amazing, and that you celebrate with family and people who love you. Also, Happy New Year. It's a new year, but the same BS. I'm 23 now. Nice. I'm sorry I've been gone for a long time. Things just keep happening, and my mind not being mentally well affected me to the point I didn't really want to talk to people. I'm just going to jump right into it. My mom had plans to end me. She documented how she was planning to do it. However, my mom's plans changed when she saw me. She saw her opportunity and took it. First of all, we found a tracking device on the car. They were following us this whole entire time. Also, we found out who was giving my mom pictures of our children. We moved away and we got a nice house. It's big enough for a lot of kids, a nice open spacious yard so we can get that darn goose my daughter wants. We even got a new car. We tried to get away. We truly did. But she still found us. We were leaving an ice cream parlor. I thought my husband was playing around, but he was trying to shield us because he saw my mom first. I held him as he slowly was bleeding out. My husband was still trying to smile, but I could see the pain in his eyes. This all happened in front of 3 children, including our 4-year-old. My husband's going to have a long, painful, slow recovery. I'm crying while typing this because my husband is the love of my life. If it wasn't because of him, I would probably be dead by now. We have a 4-year-old, and we just had 2 more babies a couple of months ago.
So wait, hold on a second. I want to see what exactly...
Because he saw my mom first. He did, but she still found it. We were leaving an ice cream parlor. I thought my husband was playing around, but he was trying to shield us because he saw my mom first. I held him as he slowly was bleeding out. My husband was...
So Wait, she shot? She was trying to shoot her? What was like? We don't know. Like we see we know what happened to him, but we don't know how it happened. Like I don't know how she found him, and I don't know what she did. Unless they're gonna explain it here a little bit, I don't know.
Trying to smile, but I could see the pain in his eyes. This all happened in front of 3 children, including our 4-year-old. My husband's going to have a long, painful, slow recovery. I'm crying while typing this because my husband is the love of my life. If it wasn't because of him, I would probably be dead by now. We have a 4-year-old, and we just had 2 more babies a couple of months ago. Azalea is the best thing that's ever happened to me, and I can't do this without him. His family is harassing me. My husband has a lot of siblings, and I never realized how toxic they were towards me in recent incidents. I thought they stopped with the mean comments, but apparently they went quiet about it. Only a handful of my husband's siblings actually love me, and I divided the family. I ruined a family, and I destroyed my own family, all because I let that woman back into my life, and she was trying to end me. While she was being arrested, my mom said, "I tried to end that witch, but that predator got in the way." And to the kid that got hit in the crossfire, I'm sorry. My mom didn't get away with it this time as she's currently locked up. I hope she burns for what she did to me, to my family, and honestly, I have one question. Do you think my mom is innocent? My mom was physically, emotionally, and according to my therapist, incestuous towards me when I was a kid. And after all of that, some of you still claim my mom is innocent and that my husband is the problem. How about now? I brought that woman around my daughter and I regret it immensely. I was going to talk about how I met my husband and how everything started from nothing to 3 children. I'm not ready to admit that I'm more like my mom than I led myself to believe. However, I would say my husband and I know we're not going to grow old together, but we're proud of this family we built. I'm very grateful for my flower, my husband. Because of him, I was able to go to rehab and get my stuff together. So with that being said, go freak yourself for telling me that my husband is going to start hurting me and our children and doing things to our children. If I was really a victim of my husband, do you think insulting me would make me see sense? Like some of you got really mean. If that's how you treat supposed victims, I'd hate to see how you treat real ones.
Damn.
Dang, the people who don't believe me, and you probably still don't believe me after reading this stuff, honestly, I don't blame you. I wouldn't believe myself if it wasn't happening directly to me. And for people who have been checking up on me in direct messages, I'm extremely grateful. Thank you for your kindness. On some happier news, my nephew got adopted by my husband's older brother, so my 15-year-old sister doesn't have to worry about the burden of a child. Watching my 45-year-old brother-in-law interact with a baby is so funny to me. Like, you have this Wednesday Addams lookalike and this tiny redheaded happy baby. My husband's trying to recover. He's been a really good sport about being shot by my mom, by the way. He keeps singing, "I got shot from the Boondocks." I'm going to sleep now. I have to take a nap because my body feels like garbage. I think OP got hit with some serious trolls. Obviously, they've been updating a few times about their experiences with their mom and their family. I think it's kind of the stuff you see all the time on like Twitter, for example, where faceless people with no ties to anything leave the most trolliest, disrespectful comments possible to get a rise and get interaction. Our next story is...
Oh boy, so much to talk about on this story. See, here is the one this is the why I hate the internet sometimes. People think, you know what's a good idea? Let's be anonymous users. Let's be like people. I always love it when people do this. Like when they want to be trolls and they leave bullshit comments because of course they would. I always find those type of comments fucking hilarious. Why? Because those same people probably, 9 out of 10 chances are, would not have the literal balls to go to that person, go right to their face and say it, right? Like literally, walk up to the person and say it right to their face. They would not have the balls to do it. I guarantee that. Now let me just state for the record, I hope that the husband turns out okay. And anybody saying the husband brought it upon himself, how? How? I don't really, like, what did he do? And people are going to say, well, he's going to be doing this and that because, nothing, blah, blah, blah. First of all, how the hell do you know that? Second of all, you don't know this person. Like, all you know is what they're saying. And, like, all you know is their username and what they're saying. You don't know their personal life. You don't know what's going on behind the closed doors. So until you actually know what the hell's going on behind those closed doors with OP and their husband, I suggest those very people who want to talk shit and get the little and try to get their little 5 minutes of fame. If you're gonna do that, don't do it in the dumbest way possible. Better yet, just shut your fucking mouth. Think before you speak. But no, on the internet, people would rather speak before they think. That's how they are.
Adult mom thinks I should give her kid a computer for Christmas.
Oh.
My brother had married my sister-in-law a year or so prior, and I'd grown very close with both her and her kids, referring to them as my nephews instead of my step-nephews. Furthermore, my brother already had 2 of his own kids, of which my step-nephews immediately took in as their siblings. So the family dynamic there...
Hold on a second here.
A computer for Christmas. My brother had married my sister-in-law a year or so prior, and I'd grown very close with both her and her kids, referring to them as my nephews instead of my step-nephews.
Okay.
Furthermore, my brother already had 2 of his own kids, of which my step-nephews immediately took in as their siblings. So the family dynamic there has honestly been great. When my nephews all found out that I was into video games and worked with technology, they expressed so much interest in the games they loved, new animes they found, and so on. It didn't take long for them to tell me that they were interested in PC gaming, playing games like Fortnite, Minecraft, Roblox, etc. And I'd already taken mental note that I would build each kid a starter gaming computer. Mind you, this was several months before Christmas. I even asked my brother and sister-in-law if they were okay with the idea, and they gave me the green light. The plan was to gift these PCs to my nephews on Christmas. So I called my brother, and he had told me that his sister-in-law's sister, who I'll now refer to as entitled Mother, had invited him and his family over for Christmas. He then informed me that my mom and I were also invited. I was worried because I'd only gotten gifts for my brother's kids. I mentioned this to him and he said, "Oh, don't worry, dude, there'll be a gift exchange there, so everyone will be getting gifts." So I packed the gifts up, picked up...
Oh, let me guess what's gonna happen. Well, why didn't you give these kids gifts? I already see that coming. Because I know these type of stories. I've seen it, I've seen these type of stories before. And they all, whether it's on a birthday, a special day that involves gifts, that isn't a birthday, Christmas. Yeah, I've seen these stories happen so many times that it's not even funny anymore. So I already expect entitled mother to be acting like, well, you got these kids gifts, so you should have gotten them gifts. But here's the problem that people tend to forget. You don't need to give gifts to people that you have not really had a close bond with, like any kind of bond with. If you don't really feel the need to give family members something, you don't have to. That's the fucking issue. You don't have to. So anybody that acts like you have to do it, no, you don't. Only give things to people that matter to you. That's the big thing. If the people there matter to you but not enough for you to warrant giving them a gift, it's fine. It's your money. Use it how you want it. How you want. Simple as it gets.
From her house and went over. After an extremely boring night, we finally got to the gift exchange. Entitled mother and her entitled child were hogging up most of the attention, where if anyone got a gift, they would immediately look for another gift to open for entitled child or for herself. I kept my gifts hidden away until the very end. My nephews all received gifts and trinkets you would find in the 25-cent section of dollar stores, basically stocking stuffers from entitled mother. All the while, my brother and sister-in-law bought entitled child a new Nintendo Switch, games, and gift cards. I honestly felt bad for my nephews, as the best gift they had gotten from any of their aunts or uncles before me was maybe a $25 Nintendo gift card. Once I confirmed all the gifts were given out, I handed my nephews their gifts. They opened the gifts and their faces lit up. They jumped up and hugged me like crazy, thanking me, one even being in tears. They were super excited to start playing on their computers. However, I felt daggers. I looked around and entitled mother was just staring hard at me. The funny thing is, everyone else was happy for my nephews. They were looking at the computers and saying, "This is awesome." After a few minutes, the entitled child comes over to me and says, "Hey, so where's my computer?" I looked at him and said, "Pardon me?" And he starts sobbing and says, "Where's my computer? Everyone else got one, so I deserve one too." I was just like, I'm sorry, kiddo, but these were for these kids. Besides, you got a brand new Nintendo Switch. You'll enjoy that more." He then...
See? As I just said, they were going to act like, well, you should have done this. Like, you know, where's mine? Since you did it for everybody else. I seen it coming. I think we all did. But I seen it coming just before it got to this part. This kind of reminds me of now, this wasn't a big deal, okay? But I just wanted to point out that there was a time at Christmas where my dad and I basically were split up gifts, right? We split gifts on my mother, my niece, and my nephew. We bought my mom and my niece both a tablet, and we bought my nephew a Nintendo Switch Lite. Okay? So what happened was, so my niece opens her gift, she gets the tablet. My nephew opens his gift, and he gets the Switch, right? At one point, he does ask why he didn't get a new tablet, but his sister did. I'm pretty sure we all basically told him the same thing. Well, first of all, you also have a Switch, and number two, your tablet still works like new, brother. He actually has had the tablet that he's gotten for his birthday, I think. So, yeah. We basically told him, you just got this one not too long ago. That's niece's, so, yeah. And besides, you also got your Switch, so, yeah. You don't need a new tablet. And he unlike this one, he was more understanding about it. Like, well, yeah, I do have this other one that I just recently got. And yeah, I got a new Switch. Yeah. You know? The funny thing is, my niece didn't say anything about the Switch. She said nothing about the Switch. She was happy about her tablet. But yeah, it was a good Christmas though. I still think it was one of the better Christmases of the past few years. Anyway, back to story.
I was off crying. I felt a bit bad, but at the same time, I looked at the mountain of gifts entitled child got, whereas my nephews got scraps up until the PCs. Then the entitled mother walks up to me and says, "Hey, I know this is so last minute, but what would it take for you to give my son a PC?" I looked at her and said, "Well, the low-end PCs cost around the ballpark of $700, so I'm sure you can get him one." She then says, "I don't think you understand. You are his uncle. Therefore, you are responsible for giving my son a PC. So when can I expect it?" My brother heard this and he was about to say something. I looked at him and said, "No, dude, I got this."
Also, can I just point out, no. OP is not responsible for giving people PCs. That's not how this works. If he doesn't want to make a PC for somebody, he doesn't have to. If OP doesn't want to make a PC for anybody, they don't have to. Simple as that. But because she's entitled, she thinks, well, you are. But OP isn't.
I turned to entitled mother and said, "Listen, you're talking quite a funny tone with me. Which one of these gifts were from you were for your nephews? The random plastic toy here? The pack of stickers? How much did you spend on them in total? Maybe less than $10? Who the heck are you or your kid to me? I'm not your brother-in-law, and I'm not your kid's uncle. I have no responsibility towards you or him, especially to buy a computer for him." At this point, entitled mother's husband had grabbed entitled mother and dragged her away. I looked at my brother and said, "I am never coming over to Christmas gatherings unless they happen at your home, and I do not want to see her again." I later found out that entitled child's grandmother bought the entitled child a computer using whatever funds she had, which led me to see how the kid became spoiled.
Yep,
The irony is that this year, I ended up upgrading the nephew's computers with new hardware. And sure enough, entitled mother expected my brother and sister-in-law to give her kids stuff like a PS5, an iPad, etc. All the while, they claim to have given their gifts to the nephews by giving them $50 to split between the four of them. Side story, apparently there was a time before my
I was just about to say something, but hold on. Sorry about that. What I was going to say, I was about to say, as soon as I was about to say something, family member came in and told me something. But I was going to say, excuse me. So what I was going to say, I find it hilarious how the same people that were doing this were expecting $500+ gifts when they spent 10 times less than the amount that they spent on other people. And I say 500+ because I'm pretty sure an iPad, even the second to third newest, are going to run at least $500. At least. If not a little bit less than that. Like maybe $400 to $500 for the third to most recent tablet out there. So I just want to point out that I just find that absolutely hilarious. Because who are you to demand $500+ gifts, only to turn back and say, well, we're going to spend around $50 on you for your Christmas. So they want expensive things, but they cannot be asked with gifting expensive things. Huh. Double standard hypocrites?
Bet my sister-in-law, where her kids were given new iPhones for Christmas, as the younger child had just reached the age where having his own phone was acceptable. Entitled mother went on to tell off my sister-in-law, stating that they were too young to have their own phones. However, entitled child saw that his cousins got new phones and he threw a tantrum. Entitled mother's hypocrisy could not have shone brighter, as the very next day, she took entitled child to get a brand new iPhone with a phone line, despite being around 5 years younger than my nephews. Note, my brother and sister-in-law have agreed and announced that they will no longer be participating in any of entitled mother's events due to their entitlement. Honestly, I'm just so glad that OP told her how it was. I don't know if the entitled mother herself was raised spoiled, but she needed a huge dose of reality. But with that being said, that's all the time.
Yep. She needed a dose of cold water. Definitely needed it. Ay, ay, ay. Let's see here. The Let's Play Curse. Jenna Conroy's least favorite thing about his time as a YouTuber. Let's hear about
You
this
may or may not have picked up on this yet, but I'm not the most confident, brave, whoa, hey, look at me, I'm totally the best kind of person. I'm shy and nervous and self-conscious and a mess. There's a lot.
You know what? I actually just remembered I was going to show something else, actually. Hold on. I would have to type this out because I'm not on my PlayStation right now. Hey, can you back up a little bit there? I think we're got a little bit there. Yeah, there we go. Try to spell it correctly. Yep, there it is. Now I gotta try to find the clip. Hmm. Yeah, so I'm trying to find it. Hold on. I'm trying to find that video I was talking about. Because like I said, I wanted everybody to hear about this. But trying to find it may be a little bit difficult. Oh, there it is right here. This clip. Listen to this.
Now it's time to tackle one of the biggest issues facing this family. They've got no clear ground rules for behaviour, and that's Discipline 101, and it needs to be addressed now.
Okay, we have rules.
Listen up, okay?
And these are the rules that you guys are gonna follow. The first one is no swearing.
Most of the children reacted really well to the new rules. They were very attentive, and they seemed to realise that Mum and Dad meant business. But Bryn started to throw a temper tantrum, and she didn't want to sit on the couch.
Okay, stop her. Bring her over here. And say to her, if you do not listen to Daddy, you will be going on timeout.
Bryn was really playing up. I mean, she's 2.5 years old. She does know what she's doing. And it is time to be teaching Bryn about boundaries and behaviour and consequences.
Now go and sit down and
Go
take
and
it back
sit
over.
down on the couch.
Take it back over.
I was shocked because Bryn normally doesn't do that. But I realized that she was doing that because it was the first time that somebody's ever laid that boundary for her.
Yep.
To say, no, you will listen. You will do what I ask you to do.
Yep.
Bryn?
Bryn.
Because you didn't listen to me and sit on the couch, you're gonna go on a timeout now.
All right, bring her over here. Bring her over here.
Okay.
So for context, they have her, and I'm watching the video clip, so I know what I'm talking about, guys. And I'm saying that just in case there's anybody that's going to try to downplay or try to argue what I'm seeing. Currently, the little girl that is crying is sitting down on the fireplace, which is not lit, by the way, as the timeout corner for her. And so, Joe Frost is letting Dad know about the timeout, like the timer for the timeout.
So now what you've done is just pacified, okay?
Yep.
I'd like you to take.
And so now, Mom is holding her after she's supposed to be in timeout for her behavior. So yeah, so that in my world it's called babying her, but pacified may be a more professional, more serious term, I guess, instead of the casual, oh, you're being a baby type of thing.
Back, alright, and explain why she was placed on that step. Okay, because right now, Missy here is not trying to.
So she tells the mom, okay, this is where Joe kind of messed up here. She's telling the mom to do this, but then she basically ends up doing it herself. I don't know why, but okay.
Okay, she didn't listen. She didn't listen and she disrespected you. And now you're going to teach her.
I know she's showing me the process of when you discipline her, but I was frustrated with it because it's hard to have her crying and you're trying to discipline her when she's supposed to be her baby.
Don't watch it.
She's not supposed to be. If she's 2.5 years old, she's not supposed to be a baby. She's supposed to be a toddler. At 2 years old, she should be growing up in a toddler position, not in a babying position. No way. No. Don't even defend it. And as I paused it, Joe Frost is going off with the mom for standing there and not doing anything.
Yeah. Take it back. Back. You don't know what's going on right now, do you?
No, and she's not usually like this.
You know why? You know why? Do you know why? Because you pussyfoot around her. That's why. Because you allow her to.
And now, as Joe's trying to say it to her face, she's going like, she's trying to turn her face away from Joe Frost as Frost is trying to explain to her what's going on.
This way. And now look what she's showing you. Do you want to be a good mum? Then you be one. Then you be one. Because you might as well not be here if you're not going to be a good mum. It's a real tough situation for Lisa.
That's some deep stuff she just said there. I don't know how I would interpret that.
Prepared to have a backbone. She doesn't want the backbone. Mum wanted to quit as she walked away from the situation and completely went off the handle.
I am telling you right now, she's never like that. I want a break. Come here.
No!
Listen,
She's not like that! Come here. Come here, Dad. Take care of the kids, please.
Now, sit.
And so now Frost is going to talk to the mom, while Dad is basically having to hold the reins of all the kids while they're having the conversation. And I've got to admit, though, the Dad here does his part very well, if I'm being honest with you. And I know this clip. And I think the Dad does the situation, handles the situation very, very well.
I was really concerned that maybe he's given up.
You asked me to come in and help you, right? Huh?
Yeah, they're not
Wait.
my 2-year-old like that.
I'm not making your 2-year-old. You are.
She's not like that.
You are. This is no time for games.
Right.
There's jeopardy here. These kids really need 2 strong parents. And whilst I was talking to one who was prepared to give up and didn't want to do anything,
She literally gave up before she even started. That's what Joe Frost is saying.
downstairs, continuing with the timeout, and making a commitment to change.
I know. As soon as you finish your timeout, we'll eat lunch, okay?
The fact that you give her boundaries, it doesn't mean that you love her any less. But it
Right.
means that no is no.
Look at me.
Right. That's exactly correct. Because it's like, yeah, you can still love your kids, but you have to put the boundary around, let them know, yes, I love you, but no, you're not gonna act this way. You will not act this way, and I will keep on disciplining you until you learn that we're not gonna let you act like this. Like, yeah, exactly like what you said. Exactly.
To sit here until your timeout is over. I'll keep bringing you back here until you do.
If you don't think about the choices you make, and they're not smart decisions, you're making choices for 6 other kids out there as well. That's a hell of a responsibility.
Seeing her deal with this the way that she has versus the way that I'm embracing this it's a little frustrating.
It's literally the opposite. It's literally opposites. Dad's trying his hardest to do what he has to do as a parent, while Mom literally gave up before she even started to try the change.
Timeout is up, okay? Give me a hug, we'll go eat our lunch, okay? Okay?
Even after our conversation, Lisa still wasn't prepared to take responsibility.
If you guys can.
And now this is the conversation after that whole ordeal taking place.
Back off.
I'm not backing off. You
Having,
need to do this.
yeah, but having you guys here is making her frustrated.
No, it's not. And you know it and I know it. Okay? You want me to come down to your language and talk on your turf?
You're
Damn.
putting up this wall, and you gotta
No, I'm not.
you gotta let her in.
Steve wants Lisa so badly to really raise her game, step up, and be the mother that he hopes she can be.
I don't feel like you're trying. I feel like you think this is a waste of time. I'm here to support you. You need to step up here, Lisa.
And he believes in her more than she believes in herself right now.
You know, all I can ask you to do at this point is just try your very, very best.
Yeah, so that was the clip I was talking about before that video happened. Like, in the middle of that one video, this is what I was talking about. But now that I've finally did what I wanted to do, I'm actually going to keep on moving ahead. Oh, gotta love these videos when they say, oh, can't watch these alone. Space videos you cannot watch alone 11. I might do those type of videos when we go back to around Halloween time. But for now, no. I want to see what else we got here. You know, there is something I would like to do actually one of these days. I would like to, I would definitely like to react to DBZ Abridged, because I absolutely loved that series. Even when it was like a year or two after the last episode they did, which was the epilogue, I believe, or something like that. They basically waited for like about a year or two before they announced, yeah, the series is over. People got understandably upset because they didn't get any word about, DBZ Abridged for about a year. And I understand, and I get that frustration. But at the end of the day, I still enjoy watching that. I still enjoy watching their DBZ Abridged episodes. Some of the funniest things I've ever seen, but they are very, very, very not kid friendly. Especially in the season involving the Cell games, I think. It's still fucked up. In the Cell games are a little bit more messed up compared to the other ones.
Welcome
but,
to r/.
But yeah, let's do another Am I the Asshole? This is actually involving...
Welcome to r/.
Yeah, this is involving a channel that I've watched a few times. This is from r/. I've seen his videos. Whether I agree with what some of he says about the Am I the Asshole or things like that, I still enjoy his content because, they're pretty good reads, actually.
The A, where a greedy woman screws herself out of $40,000. Am I the A for not giving our granddaughter the same wedding gift as our other grandchildren? First of all, this is my first post on here ever. I wanted an objective opinion, and I've read a lot of these kinds of posts on Facebook. If I do anything wrong, please tell me. I'm a 70-year-old woman, and I'm the grandmother to 5 wonderful grandkids, 3 women and 2 men. The last of my grandkids got married last October. My husband is 70, and he and I usually get them a small gift, usually the cheapest thing on the registry. Then, the day before the wedding, we privately gift them a check for $40,000. We prefer that they use it for a house, but we won't force them to do so.
Right.
We also ask them to keep it private. They all honored this request. When it came to our youngest granddaughter, we bought her an air fryer, the cheapest thing on the registry, and we sent it in advance. Then she called me furious. She went off on us for being cheap and how she knew that we had money, but that we didn't love her enough to show it by getting her something more expensive. We were horrified.
So it's a case of the child, like, they sent in advance, right? And like they were gonna give her the big gift of the $40,000. So I currently, like, I want to see how they handle the situation, but here the granddaughter reacted in such a way that it's very messed up, really. Like, I always find it messed up that people want to be like, well, it's cheap, so I'm going to flip out about it. And it's like, why? What is the reason to flip out over something that you say is cheap? Like, an air fryer is actually a good thing to have. I would know because my family has one. And it actually does make some pretty good food, but you're so pissed off and your grandparents were buying you something considerably cheaper and you want to act like that? I want to see how they act like this, but I want to see how the mom of the granddaughter, how they act. Something tells me they're not going to give 2 craps because, they're used to this with the grandparents. From the grandparents, so they're used to that. But I want to hear how this goes down.
Her behavior. Then she went ahead and threatened to disinvite us if we didn't send her a better gift. We discussed it and bought her a china set, but we didn't give her the money that was set aside for her. We decided that she didn't deserve it.
Agreed. Act like that. If you're going to act like that, I don't think she would deserve it either.
Fast forward to last week. She met up with her brother. They got to talking, and she found out about the cash gift that he got. She asked her cousins and found out that all of them got the same gift. She called us furious for discriminating against her. We told her that it was our money, and after how she behaved, we didn't want to give it to her. She started crying, said that she was extremely stressed and that we shouldn't have taken it to heart. We told her that we
Oh, what a great excuse that is.
By our decision. Now she's refusing to attend Christmas, and her mother, our daughter-in-law, is calling us buttholes.
Really? Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. No, you guys really aren't assholes. Because, as you said, it is your money, and you get to choose how to use it. If other people don't fucking like it, that's a them problem, not yours. That's a them problem. That is not your problem. If they want to get all pissed off and angry because how dare you not give them something and there's no discrimination. There is no discrimination against you. It's your attitude is put you in the position where they don't want to give you this money. This has nothing to do with discrimination. It has everything to do with your asshole attitude. That's literally what it is. And I'm talking to the granddaughter, and I'm saying this about the granddaughter in case anybody's wondering who I'm referring to. But yeah, no. The grandparents are not assholes. Not to me, anyway. But the granddaughter, is the asshole. But I want to hear what r/slash says.
Oh, are we the buttholes? OP, let's be super clear about this. Your granddaughter was more interested in the gift that you gave her than you being at the wedding, right? She was gonna disinvite you if you didn't get her something more expensive, which means the money is more important than you are.
Right.
So, no, you're not the butthole. And who cares if she's stressed? We've all done bad and wrong things when we're stressed before, but that's...
I mean, hell, we've all made bad... We all have or eventually will make bad decisions. That's just, no matter how many of them we make. That's just the way of life, and it's up to us, in the event we do make said bad decisions, to learn from them, so we don't make those same bad mistakes again. Simple as it gets. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry.
Automatic excuse to get away with it. You still have to own up for your actions.
Right.
Your granddaughter was disrespectful, so if you don't want to give $40,000 to someone who disrespected you, then I don't blame you. I'm giving your granddaughter 2 out of 5 buttholes. OP, I'm giving you 0 out of 5 buttholes. Also, welcome to Reddit. Am I the butthole for saying that I don't care if my half-siblings feel left out because it's not my mom's job to mother them? My parents were married and had me, a 16-year-old girl, and my brother, an 18-year-old boy. My dad had an affair with another woman, Kate, and my mom and him divorced. Ellie, an 11-year-old girl, was the result of that affair, and Tommy, a 9-year-old boy, was born when Dad married Kate. A year later, Kate died. My dad's family rallied around my half-siblings and tried to make up for the loss of their mother. My mom shared custody of me and my brother with my dad. My dad had asked my mom to include Ellie and Tommy in her life after Kate died. And he even told my brother and I a few times that my step-siblings would be coming to my mom's with us and that she'd be their mom now too. But my mom never did take Ellie or Tommy into her home. I don't even think that she's ever interacted with them. When I look back at moments where everyone was present, my mom was always on one side with her family, and my dad was on another with his and my half-siblings. As Ellie and Tommy have gotten big...
That is a literal family... Well, I don't know if we could call this a family feud because they divorced. I think it was said they divorced. But still, in this position, it's literally where mom's family sides with mom and dad's family sides with dad. That's literally what it boils down to. So it's a literal family feud.
They've expressed all the emotions that you might expect when you don't have a mom, but you sometimes share a home with kids who do. They get jealous, sad, frustrated. They've asked for us to share a mom with them, and they wanted to come along when they hear that mom is taking us on vacation. They wanted us to all spend Christmas together, all kinds of stuff. They also just have dad's side of the family, since none of Kate's family wants to be in their lives. But me and my brother have both sets of grandparents and aunts and uncles involved in our lives. A few times over the years, my dad or other family members on my dad's side have asked, "Don't you dislike it that your mom won't open her heart to kids who are part of the family?" I always said no, because they're not her kids, and so it doesn't make sense to me that she would. My dad wanted to try to get my half-siblings' wish to come true for a Christmas where we're all together, which would include my brother and I and our mom. My mom said no. She did not engage with my dad beyond no. Ellie and Dad then tried to get me to convince Mom, and I said no, and I told them that I didn't want to talk her around. Ellie got upset hearing that and left. My dad and my dad's parents then cornered me later and asked me how can I say that when I know that Ellie and Tommy feel left out and that they crave mothering. I told them I don't really care if they feel left out because it's not my mom's job to mother them, and I would never expect her to do it. They told me that my mom could and should have love for them as her kids' siblings. I told them that Dad should have thought about that before he cheated on Mom and got another woman pregnant while he was still married to Mom.
Damn.
Am I the butthole? OP, the last sentence of this post sums up this argument better than I possibly could.
Damn.
Your dad lost every right to be involved in your mom's life the second that he cheated on her. So you're right, OP. It's not your mom's job to mother those kids. So your dad and your dad's family is doubly toxic. Not only are they toxic
Same.
for like effectively brainwashing their kids into making them think that they should get something that they're not entitled to, which is the love from your mother. But on top of that, they're putting you in the middle of it
Yeah.
and forcing you to go against your mom to advocate for your half siblings. And it's just a really messed up dynamic that's not healthy or productive. And the only thing that your dad is accomplishing here is making everyone miserable. OP, I'm giving you and your mother 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm also giving your step siblings 0 out of 5 buttholes. They're too young to really understand what's happening
Yeah.
here. I'm giving your dad 4 out of 5 buttholes for being a cheating hypocrite. Am I the...
I want to point out that honestly, I feel bad for the half siblings for what they're going through because of what their dad did before they were born, right? And so of course they're not going to see dad as how the ex-wife and their kids and her family see him as. Meanwhile, and I don't know why, but for some reason the dad's family is siding with him. When, like, what did he tell them? I would love to hear what he has told them in regard to that whole situation. And I say that, knowing full well that I'm never going to get the answer to it. But I just find that hilarious. How this man is even trying to get the mom involved in the half. Now, I want to say for the record, I believe like this should be the case in regard to, I feel like this is in regard to, what was it? I feel like one would, like, in this regard, I could see why you would say no. But if this was in the regard where your parents divorced and then he got together with Kate and then, had the kids, I feel like it would be an entirely different, I honestly believe it would be possibly an entirely different story. And I say possibly because, again, the mom does have the right to say no to, being involved in the kids' lives because they're not her kids. But at the same time, I feel like she would be a little bit lenient. But again, I feel like it. That doesn't mean that it will happen. But it would potentially happen. That I feel like she'd be a little bit lenient in, being involved in their kids' lives. In this regard, in the regard of, well, we divorced and he was with this woman and now they don't have a mother, maybe I might be willing to do this. But in the regard of cheating, no. I would agree wholeheartedly with the mom's decision. But since this is more about cheating and not a divorce, yeah, I agree with the mom. I agree with it. The dad is the asshole and his family are dumb people because they're siding with the man who I understand is going through a rough time with the death of his new wife. Okay, I get that. But he does not have the right to basically demand that, that OP's mother becomes the new mother figure in their life after what he did to her. Absolutely not. No.
For not wanting my husband to go to his ex's funeral? I'll admit, I'm biased right off the bat. I couldn't stand her. I call her his ex to myself and others, but he called her his friend. We're all in our early 40s.
So she's already admitted she's biased against the person just because she doesn't like her. This sounds almost like the one story that I remember listening to the other day when I was doing a live stream of watching Reddit videos. There was a story that almost sounds similar to this in regard to even though it was about OP in the position of the person who wanted to go to the ex's funeral and not the person who is refusing to let their significant other go to the ex's funeral. Yeah.
And she died recently of an aneurysm. I've been with him for 10 years now, but he had known her for 20. The way he tells it, they were friends in college, decided to date, got married, then realized they weren't a great couple, and decided to just be friends. All that happened years before I met him. He was clear early on that she was important. A couple of months into dating, it came up that his friend was actually his ex-wife. He explained the above to me, saying that she was one of his closest friends and that it was purely platonic. I expressed some discomfort at him being so close to an ex, and he told me, "That's fine. If you have a serious issue with it, let me know now and save us some time. I'll choose her.
Whoa.
I like you and all, but I've known her for over 12 years, and she's one of the most important people in my life. You'll have to be okay with that if you want us to be a thing."
Whoa, that part I was not expecting. That, oh. He basically forced her into an ultimatum there. I did not expect that to happen. Like, I get that you could still be friends with your ex if you believe. Like, I believe that you can still be friends with your ex if you believe that you could still, like, you're not meant to be a couple, but you can still be good friends with that person. I wholeheartedly agree with that. As long, I would have no issue with it. As long as it didn't get to, as it was before. You know what I mean? Because then that would seem like they're still, like, they're not together, but they're still acting like they are together. You know what I mean? If you get what I'm saying here. I would have no issue if I had a significant other and they told me, well, I'm still friends with my ex that I had, the ex that I was in a relationship with before I met you. I'd be like, okay, as long as you guys aren't doing anything, what would be considered, as long as you guys aren't doing anything outside of, just talking, hanging out, things and such of that nature, I would have no issue with it. Because I think that, if a former couple wanted to still be friends, like, as I was trying to say earlier, I'm going to re-spin what I said. So let's say you are involved, like, you got with this person, but then you decided to break up / divorce, and so now they're your ex. Then, but you still think that you can still be friends with them, and you're still friends with them. If it got to that and you was telling me about that, I'd be okay with it, as long as it wasn't getting to, as long as you guys were not still doing what you were doing before you broke up. If what I'm saying makes any sense. But yeah, that's my whole thing. I believe that a former couple can still be friends if it didn't get in a bad way before it happened. You know what I mean? I still believe that.
We were engaged, I asked again, and he gave me this perplexed look and asked, "Why would us getting married affect my friendships?" I sucked it up and went along. I resented every moment of knowing her, especially when we had to be social. She understood some part of him that I couldn't. Her husband was friends with my husband as well, so it's not like I could use him to help me out.
Wow.
He'd have lunch with her, they'd go to geeky movies, whatever. The few times I brought it up, he said, "We've had this conversation before. You had your chance to back out."
Okay, now I'm starting to think the husband's being more of an asshole now with how he's acting. If I'm being honest with you here.
He died after they had that lunch the other day on the way to her car. He spent a bunch of time crying, but honestly, I was relieved. He was working with her husband on funeral planning. I told him, "You don't think you're going, do you?" My argument summed up, oh my god, this woman.
I just love how before he said anything, like, he just said, "Oh god, this woman," like, Jesus Christ, dude. I'm starting to think they're both assholes in their own way. Like, he was an asshole because he gave her an ultimatum, but she's being the asshole because she's not understanding his feelings about her. Like, dude. I'm starting to think they're both assholes at this point, dude. Seriously.
She's dead, so she's not a factor anymore. He doesn't get to use the "she's my friend" excuse because she doesn't exist anymore.
I love how he's now using, like, the entitled woman voice in this, because that's exactly what it sounds like. Like, I get that you don't like the woman, but that is no reason to go against your husband going to her funeral. Because if he still considered her an important person in his life, I would wholeheartedly allow him to go to the funeral. But because you seem like, well, this, I just can't right now with this OP. Like, oh my god. As much as I thought this guy was an asshole for how he was going crazy on her, like giving her that ultimatum, I still think that is, in his own way, an asshole move. This is twice as bad as what he did to her in that one conversation. A whole lot worse. Like, dude! Oh my god!
He had his cry for a couple of days, so he gets to be done with mourning her already. There's no need for him to go to her funeral, since I wouldn't want her at his. He... angriest...
Really? Oh my god, this problem about this OP is up. At first I was doing like, okay, the husband's gonna be the asshole here. And now after that I'm doing like, the wife is the fucking asshole here. Because of what you just said. Oh my god, dude. Oh my god. I don't think I've ever been more pissed off at a single person in my entire life of watching these Am I the Asshole stories than this person right here with their argument. Oh my god.
For seeing him when I told him that, replying that he'll be going no matter how I feel, and that he's willing to burn this to the effing ground while holding up his wedding band. He said, besides you, she was the closest friend in my life. Him, her husband, and my sisters are calling me an insensitive butthole over this, all saying that there was no romantic aspect to their relationship and that I'm heartless. Her husband went so far as calling me a ghoul for how I reacted. I never felt that their relationship was appropriate, and I hid that for years because I wanted to be with my husband. Now that she's gone, I don't feel that I should have to hide it anymore and can speak freely. Am I the butthole for just wanting him to be done with her and for him to not attend the funeral?
I think we could all agree with one. I think we already made the decision before she even finished this. Yes, she is the asshole. Because while I get that she doesn't like his ex-wife, I get that. But that is no excuse whatsoever for you to say, well, you're not allowed to go to this funeral because of these following reasons. Because like I just said, like about 5 minutes ago, this woman, if she was an important part of his life, even after their divorce, he should be allowed, because he is a grown adult and he can make that decision for her, like for himself. I'm sorry, I messed up my wording. He can still make that decision for himself, and he has just as much right to say, I'm going, as much as she has the right not to go. And for her to say, I would never allow her to go to his, that is, yeah, that's bias. She literally even said it was bias. She literally outed herself on the very first sentence before we even heard the story. What the fuck? I'm laughing at the sheer stupidity of this person, dude. Seriously. Like, I get that you didn't like the ex, but that's just no reason for you to act this way toward your husband. And you basically put yourself in this position because you didn't want to respect your husband's wish, your husband's decision to, like, you don't have to agree with it, but you should respect it, regardless of how you personally feel about the person. That's the thing. So, OP, as much as I as much as I feel like the man was a bit of an asshole in his own right, the OP, definitely the major asshole out of the two of them. Yes, you are the asshole.
P, your post is dripping with jealousy. And let me be clear. I actually don't think that it's wrong necessarily for couples to set a boundary and say, look, husband, I don't want you to hang out with female friends. Or, look, wife, I don't want you hanging out with guy friends. Like, if that's a boundary that a couple decides to set up, then there's no issue with that. However, the exact opposite happened in this story. Your husband made it explicitly clear to you that he was going to have a relationship with this girl. That was a clear deal breaker for him. And if it's a deal breaker for you, then you just shouldn't have married him. Right. Instead, what you decided to do was marry him and then constantly disrespect his boundary. And you might be saying, yeah, well, he disrespected my boundary by constantly being with her too. No, because this was his condition for marrying him. You're the one who agreed to it, even though when you agreed to it, actually you were lying about it. Basically, OP, what happened here is that you entered this marriage with a lie, and you held on to that lie this entire time. Yep. Your husband's always been honest. He cares about you, but he's not going to give up his friendship. OP, you sound super toxic. I can't remember the last time I read a story on Reddit where someone was this thrilled that a completely innocent person died. Like, you're practically giddy writing this story, OP. I sincerely hope that your husband has more luck on his third marriage, because based on this story, I think this one is going downhill. OP, I'm giving you 4 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving your husband 0 out of 5 buttholes.
Like, damn. Pretty much. Yeah. Like, he added a few things that I didn't think about. But yeah. Damn. I agree. I don't think I've ever read / heard of a story involving somebody getting giddy. Like, actually, hold on a second. I actually, like that one story that I heard about this one, like the OP was going to a friend's, like an ex's funeral. And the woman was almost thinking the same thing. Almost. I'm gonna have to find this story. I'm gonna do like, dude, this is the second time, like, I heard of a Reddit story like this, like, what post was it? Like, story number 3, but the roles were reversed. And OP was the guy that wanted to go to the ex's funeral, while the other person was the person that was saying, no, you're not going. Wow. That is just insane to me.
Am I the butthole for asking my daughter for help? I'm 54 years old and my daughter is 28. She's home on break from grad school getting her PhD. She's only home for 2 weeks because she said she doesn't have any more time, even though she has a month-long break. That's been a big thing with her lately. She's constantly too busy to do things with us or help out, even though she does have the time. I got my younger daughter a sweater, and it turns out that she already has it. I called my older daughter from work on Friday and told her that she had to run and exchange it for a different one. She said, okay, she'd do it the next day. I said that it had to be done that day to get the best options, and she said that she was grading papers, so she can't. I told her that it's not like she can't pause her grading, run out, and exchange it. She said that she wasn't going to slow down her work and just said that I should do it when I got back from work that day. I said that I was busy, and I didn't feel like running out after a long day of...
You know, as soon as he starts using that entitled woman voice, you know he's already made it clear who's the asshole in this story. I'm just saying.
And she said neither did she. But she doesn't even have a long day of work. She's sitting on her butt on her computer all day. And she doesn't even have scheduled hours to work. She can do it whenever she wants. Today.
Just because she doesn't have a set hours doesn't mean she's not busy, my dude. I'm just saying. Dude, look at my hours. At my place of work, which I already know I talked about, I have literal a random set of hours to work at with my place of work. So to say, well, you don't have a set number of hours, so that doesn't mean you're not working every day. Like, you're not working. That is a lie. Like, you can still, dude, my hours are so random. Like, I could be working 5 days and then 1 day off, or 2 day off. Like, 1 day, work a set number of days, then 1 day with another set of days, then 2 days, or with another set of days, then 1 day, another set of days, 3 days. You know, it's all completely random. So I can tell you for a fact that what he just said is a lie. That is not true.
Things really kicked off because I needed her to pick up an online order for a gift for my mom, her grandma. She again used the excuse of grading. She hadn't even started working yet. It was in the morning and she was drinking coffee and having breakfast. She said that she needs to have her grades done by today, but I looked it up on the website and she has until Monday evening, so I called her on her BS. She said that she had other work due on Monday, so she needed to get the grading done today. But she wouldn't enlighten me as to what this mysterious other work is. I said, well, tough. This needs to be picked up today so I can wrap it, and I was going into the office so I couldn't do it. She said that if I don't want to do it myself, then she'll do it on her own time. I told her, with that attitude, she can stay somewhere else, and she said, happily, and then packed her things claiming that she didn't want to stay here anyway, but was only doing so because I insisted.
Damn.
She left her gifts for everyone and said to not expect her for the holidays and that she'll go to her girlfriend's family instead. I think it's ridiculous that she's throwing a fit just because she can't constantly live like she's the only person on the planet. But my wife and my other daughter are now furious with me. So I figured I'd ask here because my younger daughter is always reading these stories with me. Am I the butthole, or am I correct that my daughter is self-centered and childish?
You know, the person that's accusing somebody tends to be the exact person who exactly what they say they are. Dude, you want to talk about her not finding time? Dude, it seems like you're not finding time to do some of these things yourself. Dude, seriously. I thought the last one was bad. This guy is probably just as bad, if not worse. Because, at least she had the balls to say something. Here, this guy, I don't even know, dude. This is crazy to me. How could you say, well, I don't have the time to do it, but you do? Well, I don't have the time either. If I'm going to do this, you got to wait for me to be ready to do it. And now the guy's like, well, that's not good enough. And I'm looking at this dude, you're not even trying to get the effort of doing these things yourself. You are actually expecting other people to do it for you. And you're how old? If you're an adult, you should know by now that there are going to be things that you're going to need to do. And, might I add, you are not going to try to play this bullshit game of trying to act like, well, you can't do anything, but you're See, that, I will say, I kind of feel the daughter with this one, because I sometimes have that feeling of where I feel like I'm putting in too much work while my parents are not really doing it. But I do think that, they should have their off days, when they go to work and all that. And, and of course, on their days off after some long days, if they had some very rough days at work, and they're having their days off, I will wholeheartedly agree that they deserve a break. Okay? But at the same time, I gotta go through, I have my own fair share of potential rough days happening. So, yeah, I'm not gonna go too much into that because honestly, because honestly, that's a me thing that I have to deal with. But yeah, I think the dad's the asshole here for obvious reasons.
Wow. This is a grown ass man, 54 years old. OP, you're treating your daughter like she works for you, like she's some employee you can just boss around.
Oh yeah, I'm honestly surprised the father didn't even try to use the age-old excuse of, well, I'm your parent, you have to do what I say. Or, well, you have to respect your elders, so do it. Just do it.
Need a sweater exchanged. Okay, then do it. You need a package picked up. Okay, then do it. You're 54 years old, dude. Do your own chores.
I just love how this dude almost tried to sound like Sheila Bilf. Doing it. Just do it. Just Jesus Christ. God damn, bro. Good Lord. He really sounded like Sheila Bilf doing that freaking meme. Jeez. I'm sorry, I just had to laugh at that. That's funny shit right there.
Lazy and entitled you have to be. Oh, well, I don't want to do this chore after work, so I want my daughter to do it because I'm a lazy douchebag. There are some people in this world who believe that unless you're using physical labor at your work, then your work just doesn't really count as real work.
Right.
OP is definitely one of those people.
Yep.
Yeah, well, my daughter just sits at a computer, so how hard can it possibly be? I'm up on my feet doing hard labor, and that's real work. Tough, man. That sucks for you. It'd be nicer if you could sit at a comfy computer and do work there, but that's not the profession you got. Luckily, your daughter does have that kind of profession. You should be happy that she has those work perks, not use them as an excuse to treat her like a paid servant.
Right.
And you're playing the I'm your father, so what I say goes. My house, my rules card. And yeah, that works when your daughter's, 14, but your daughter's not 14 anymore.
Right.
She's twice that age at 28. She's a grown woman. If she doesn't want to do your chores, and if she doesn't want to stay in your house, then you can't make her. OP, you are an entitled douchebag. And I'm really starting to get a sense of why your daughter is only staying for 2 weeks instead of the full month. Because you're insufferable. If I had time off work and my family was constantly bossing me around and demeaning my work, then I would also find someplace else to stay. OP, I'm giving you 2.5 out of 5 buttholes. Get over yourself, man.
Damn.
I'm giving your daughter 0 out of 5 buttholes. That was r/am I the butthole.
Yeah, I just can't believe that OP was like that, though. Like, seriously? Seriously. Jeez. But yeah, okay, so, what time is it right now anyway? Hold on a second. Okay. So, I'm actually going to go ahead and oh jeez. So I'm gonna go ahead and head off of here now because it's getting kind of late and I'm starting to feel a little bit tired. So I'm gonna go ahead and head off of here for the night. I hope you guys enjoyed this me reacting to Reddit stories and kind of talking, I guess. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I think this is probably the most mad I've ever gotten at hearing some of these stories that I've ever heard in my entire life. Especially the one involving the woman who would not let the woman in the Am I the Asshole video. Like, I have never been as mad, actively mad at anybody than that. Ever. Like, not even when I was doing the video, like when I was doing that stream with basically the roles being reversed, where OP was the guy that was going to the funeral, and the other person was the person who was like, you can't do that, or I refuse to let you do that, things like that, something like that. I honestly have never been this mad over this, like, any Reddit story under this point. Like, I've been like, oh my god, like, I've been shocked, I've been speechless, but this is the first time ever I've ever been actively mad at somebody who thought, things like that. Because to me, if you want to go to the funeral, and I'm going to say this real quick, if you want to go to the funeral because the person that you're going to, because the person whose funeral you're going to was an important figure in your life, regardless of who they were to you, I would let you go. Like, dude, it's your choice to go to the funeral. If your soon-to-be ex-wife, because I'm pretty sure that's what it's going to be boiling down to, what if your soon-to-be ex-wife, who happens to be the OP here, wants to play this game of ultimatum, then yeah, that's on her. That's a her problem. She literally brought it upon herself what was going to happen, what's going on here now. She was trying to blame it on you, but bullcrap. But anyway, guys, I'm going to stop talking about it. I'm going to go ahead and head off. Hope you guys enjoyed this. But with that all being said, hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys tomorrow, probably. Until then, this is Forrest Walpole signing off. As soon as my heater starts, I end it. Bye. Whatever.